The wind howled like a hungry wolf, tearing at Clara Whitmore's small cabin. Snow, thick and relentless, plastered itself against the windows, blurring the already fading light of the late afternoon. Clara, a woman etched with the harsh lines of a life lived under a relentless sun and unforgiving loss, huddled closer to the meager warmth of the fire. Years had passed since she'd heard the laughter of a child in her home. Years since her own son, Thomas, had succumbed to a fever that swept through the territory like a prairie fire. The silence had become a constant companion, a heavy blanket smothering any flicker of joy. She'd ventured out to check on her livestock, a necessary evil in this storm. The biting wind stung her cheeks, and the snow swirled around her, making it difficult to see. Just as she was about to turn back toward the cabin, a splash of color caught her eye. Something red, almost swallowed by the white expanse, lay near the base of a snow-laden bush. Curiosity, a rare spark in her otherwise muted existence, propelled her forward. She pushed through the heavy snow, her boots sinking deep with each step. As she drew closer, she realized it wasn't just a piece of discarded fabric. It was a bundle, carefully wrapped in a thick, red cloth. With trembling hands, she knelt and brushed away the snow. A tiny face, pale and fragile, peeked out from the folds of the blanket. A baby, abandoned, barely alive. His skin was cold to the touch, and his breath came in shallow, ragged gasps. A wave of protective instinct, a feeling she thought long buried, surged through her. Without a second thought, she scooped the child into her arms, shielding him from the wind and snow with her own body. The small weight in her arms felt strangely comforting, a warmth spreading through her that had nothing to do with the fire waiting back at the cabin. She knew she had to get him inside, quickly, if he was to have any chance of survival. The storm raged on, but in that moment, Clara knew she couldn't leave him to die. This tiny life, unexpectedly thrust into her care, had awakened something within her that she thought had been lost forever. Back in the cabin, Clara worked quickly. She laid the baby on a soft, woolen blanket near the fire. His tiny body was so cold, she feared it was too late. She dampened a cloth with lukewarm water and gently dabbed his face, his hands, his feet. His skin felt like ice. She stoked the fire, coaxing it to burn brighter, casting a warm glow on the small, still form. She rummaged through her trunk, searching for something, anything, that would fit him. Thomas's old baby clothes were long gone, given away years ago in a futile attempt to erase the constant reminder of her loss. Finally, she found a soft, worn flannel shirt that had belonged to her husband, Samuel. It was far too big, but it was the warmest thing she had. Carefully, she wrapped the baby in the shirt, tucking the fabric around him to keep him as snug as possible. She held him close to her chest, willing her own warmth to transfer to his frozen limbs. Hours passed. The storm continued to rage outside, but inside the cabin, a quiet battle was being fought. Clara whispered soft words. Nonsense, really, but the sound of her voice seemed to soothe the child. Slowly, ever so slowly, the baby's breathing became a little stronger, a little less ragged. A faint flush returned to his cheeks. He stirred slightly in her arms. Clara held her breath, afraid to hope. Then, a tiny whimper escaped his lips. He was alive. Relief washed over Clara, so profound it almost brought her to her knees. She had saved him, but the night was far from over. She knew she had to keep him warm, keep him fed, keep him alive until the storm passed. She didn't have any milk, but she remembered a recipe her grandmother used to use, a mixture of warm water, a touch of honey, and a pinch of cinnamon. It wasn't much, but it was all she had. Using a small spoon, she carefully trickled the mixture into the baby's mouth. He swallowed weakly, his eyes still closed. She continued to feed him drop by drop until he seemed a little stronger. As the night wore on, Clara didn't sleep. She held the baby close, watching his every breath, listening for any sign of distress. She was exhausted, but she couldn't bring herself to put him down. He was so small, so vulnerable, so utterly dependent on her. And in that moment, Clara realized that she, too, needed him. He had given her a purpose, a reason to keep going, a flicker of hope in the long, dark winter of her grief. The storm finally broke the following morning, leaving behind a world blanketed in pristine white. Sunlight streamed through the cabin windows, illuminating dust motes dancing in the air and casting a warm glow on the sleeping baby in Clara's arms. The tiny whimper of the night before had turned into a soft, contented sigh. Days turned into weeks. The baby, whom Clara had begun calling Samuel, after her late husband, thrived under her care. He gained weight, his skin took on a healthy glow, and his eyes, a deep, soulful brown, began to focus on her face. Clara found herself talking to him constantly, telling him stories about her life, about Thomas, about Samuel, about the land. It was as if, in caring for him, she was also healing herself. She learned his cries, his needs, his little quirks. She knew when he was hungry, when he was tired, when he just wanted to be held. She sang him lullabies she hadn't sung in years, her voice a little rusty at first, but growing stronger with each passing day. The silence that had once filled her cabin was now replaced with the coos and gurgles of a happy baby, a melody that warmed her heart and filled her with a joy she thought she'd never experience again. She made him clothes from scraps of fabric she found in her trunk, patching and mending them with loving care. She fed him a mixture of mashed vegetables and broth, carefully spoon-feeding him until his tiny belly was full. She bathed him in a small basin near the fire, his giggles echoing through the cabin as she gently splashed water on his face. With each passing day, the bond between them grew stronger, deeper. He was no longer just a baby she had rescued from the snow. He was her son, her family, her reason for being. The maternal instincts that had been dormant for so long had awakened with a fierce intensity, filling her with a love that knew no bounds. She couldn't imagine her life without him. He had brought light back into her world, a light that she desperately needed. But even as she cherished these precious moments, a nagging worry began to creep into her mind. She knew, deep down, that this couldn't last forever. The red cloth he was wrapped in, the fineness of the material, suggested he came from somewhere, someone was missing him, and they would eventually come looking. And Clara feared that day more than anything. Spring arrived, painting the landscape in hues of green and gold. The snow melted, revealing the rolling hills and vast plains that stretched as far as the eye could see. But with the thaw came whispers carried on the wind, rumors that spoke of Comanche warriors searching the territory. At first, Clara dismissed them as just stories, tales told around campfires to frighten children. But the rumors persisted, growing more frequent, more specific. People spoke of a missing child, a son of a powerful chief, lost during the winter storms. They said the warriors were relentless, their faces grim, their determination unwavering. Clara's heart clenched with each new story. She knew, deep down, that these rumors were connected to Samuel. The red cloth, the baby's delicate features, the timing of his abandonment. It all pointed to one inescapable truth. Samuel was Comanche. Fear began to consume her. She imagined the warriors, their painted faces and piercing eyes, arriving at her cabin, demanding the return of the child. She pictured herself having to hand him over, tearing herself away from the little boy who had become her everything. The thought was unbearable. She started keeping a closer watch on the surrounding area, scanning the horizon for any sign of movement. She kept Samuel inside more often, afraid to let him out of her sight. She even considered running away, packing up her belongings and disappearing into the vast wilderness, hoping to outrun the inevitable. But she knew that running wouldn't solve anything. It would only delay the inevitable, and it would be unfair to Samuel. He deserved to know his heritage, to be with his people, and deep down, Clara knew that she couldn't keep him from them forever. One afternoon, while Clara was tending to her small garden, she saw them. In the distance, a group of horsemen emerged from the trees, their silhouettes stark against the setting sun. They rode slowly, deliberately, their eyes fixed on her cabin. Clara's breath caught in her throat. This was it. They had come for Samuel. Her heart pounded in her chest, a mixture of fear and resignation washing over her. She knew she couldn't hide him, she couldn't run. All she could do was wait and pray that somehow everything would be all right. She picked up Samuel, held him close to her heart, and walked toward the approaching riders, ready to face whatever the future held. The horsemen stopped a short distance from Clara, their eyes scrutinizing her and the baby in her arms. They were indeed Comanche, their faces painted with bold strokes of black and red, their hair long and braided. The leader, a tall, imposing figure with a stern but dignified face, dismounted and approached her. He moved with a quiet grace that belied his strength. He spoke in a language Clara didn't understand, his voice deep and resonant. She could only shake her head, indicating that she didn't comprehend. He then switched to broken English, his words carefully chosen. "You have, child." Clara nodded, her grip tightening on Samuel. "Yes," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "His name is Samuel." The chief's eyes softened slightly as he looked at the baby. He reached out a hand, as if to touch him, but hesitated. "He my son," he said, his voice thick with emotion. Lost in storm, Clara's heart ached for him. She could only imagine the pain he must have endured, searching for his missing child, fearing the worst. She nodded again, tears welling up in her eyes. "I found him," she said, "in the snow. He was almost gone." The chief's gaze shifted from Samuel to Clara, his eyes filled with gratitude. "You saved him," he said. "I thank you." He gestured to one of his warriors, who approached with a blanket woven with intricate patterns. The warrior carefully unfolded the blanket and offered it to Clara. "Gift," the chief said, "for kindness." Clara accepted the blanket, her fingers tracing the delicate weave. It was a beautiful, precious gift, a symbol of the chief's gratitude and respect. But even as she accepted it, a wave of sadness washed over her. She knew what was coming next. The chief stepped closer to her, his eyes pleading. "Take him now," he said. "We need his people." Clara's heart shattered. She knew he was right, but the thought of giving Samuel up was almost unbearable. She looked down at the baby in her arms, his innocent eyes gazing up at her. She knew she couldn't keep him from his father, from his heritage. It was the right thing to do, even though it would break her heart. With trembling hands, she slowly extended Samuel toward the chief. The chief gently took the baby into his arms, cradling him close. A look of profound love and relief washed over his face. He held Samuel for a long moment, then looked back at Clara, his eyes filled with gratitude. "You good woman," he said. "He will know you." He then turned and walked back to his horse, his warriors following behind. Clara watched them ride away, her heart breaking with each step they took. Samuel was gone, and with him, a part of her went too. The days that followed were long and empty. Clara found herself constantly looking at the empty cradle, the small clothes she had made, the toys she had fashioned from scraps of wood. The silence in the cabin was deafening, a stark reminder of her loss. She tried to occupy herself with chores, tending to her garden, feeding her livestock, mending her clothes. But nothing could fill the void that Samuel had left behind. She missed his laughter, his coos, the warmth of his small body in her arms. She missed the purpose he had given her, the reason to get up each morning. One evening, as she sat by the fire, staring into the flames, she heard a knock on the door. Her heart leaped with a flicker of hope, but she quickly tamped it down. It couldn't be. He was gone. She opened the door cautiously and gasped. Standing before her was the Comanche chief, his face etched with a mixture of sadness and determination. He was alone. He held out his hand, and in it he held a small, intricately carved wooden bird. "For you," he said, his English a little clearer than before. "For my son." Clara took the bird, her fingers tracing the delicate carvings. It was a beautiful, precious gift, a reminder that Samuel hadn't forgotten her. Tears streamed down her face. "He misses you," the chief said softly. "We all miss you." He stepped closer to her, his eyes filled with a warmth that surprised her. "My people see your heart," he said. "You saved my son. You are part of our family now." He paused, then continued, his voice filled with reverence. "I give you new name. Wania Wallapi Winyen. It means winter story woman, because you found him in winter and you gave him a new story." Clara was deeply moved by his words. She had never expected such kindness, such acceptance. She realized that she wasn't just losing Samuel. She was gaining something too, a connection to a new family, a new culture, a new identity. The chief smiled gently. "Come," he said. "Visit us. See him. He needs to see you. We all need to see you." Clara hesitated for a moment, then nodded. She knew she couldn't stay away. She had to see Samuel again, to know that he was happy, that he was safe, and she wanted to learn more about his people, to understand the culture that he was now a part of. She had a feeling that this was just the beginning of a new chapter in her life, a chapter filled with challenges, but also with love, understanding, and a connection that transcended cultural boundaries. A few weeks later, Clara, now known to herself and to the Comanche as Wania Wallapi Winyen, set out to visit Samuel. She packed a small bag with gifts, a hand-stitched blanket, a few wooden toys, and some dried fruit. She wasn't sure what to expect, but she was determined to see Samuel again. The journey was long and arduous, taking her through unfamiliar territory. She followed the directions the chief had given her, relying on her instincts and her knowledge of the land. Finally, she arrived at the Comanche village, nestled in a valley surrounded by towering cliffs. As she approached, she was greeted with curiosity and suspicion. Children peeked out from behind tents, their eyes wide with wonder. Warriors watched her carefully, their faces unreadable. But as she drew closer, she saw a flicker of recognition in their eyes, a hint of welcome. The chief, whose name was Tashunkawitko, or Crazy Horse, greeted her with a warm smile. He led her to his lodge, a spacious dwelling decorated with intricate paintings and colorful tapestries. Inside, she saw Samuel playing with a group of children. He had grown taller and stronger since she had last seen him. His skin was tanned by the sun, and his eyes sparkled with life. He was dressed in traditional Comanche clothing, a buckskin shirt and leggings adorned with beads and feathers. When he saw Clara, his face lit up with joy. He ran to her, throwing his arms around her legs. "Wania," he cried, his voice filled with excitement. Clara knelt down and embraced him, her heart overflowing with love. He was still her Samuel, even though he was now a part of a different world. Over the next few days, Clara spent time with Samuel and the Comanche people, learning about their culture, their traditions, and their way of life. She learned about their respect for nature, their strong sense of community, and their deep connection to their ancestors. She also learned about their struggles, their battles, and their determination to protect their land and their way of life. She discovered that the Comanche were a proud and resilient people with a rich history and a strong sense of identity. They welcomed her with open arms, treating her as one of their own. She learned to speak their language, to cook their food, and to participate in their ceremonies. She saw Samuel thriving in his new environment, learning the skills he would need to become a warrior and a leader. He was surrounded by family and friends, and he was loved and cherished by all. Clara realized that Samuel was where he belonged, with his people, learning about his heritage, and growing into the man he was destined to be. And even though she missed him terribly, she knew that she had made the right decision in returning him to his father. As she prepared to leave, Samuel gave her a hug and whispered in her ear, "I will always remember you, Wania. You are my mother." Clara smiled, tears streaming down her face. She knew that their bond would never be broken, that they would always be connected, no matter how far apart they were. She left the Comanche village with a heavy heart, but also with a sense of peace and contentment. She had found a new family, a new purpose, and a new identity. And she knew that her life would never be the same again. This is where the story could end, with Samuel finding his birth mother and Clara finding peace. However, there's one more element to add, a final thread to weave into the tapestry of their lives. Although Samuel found his birth mother, his heart held a special place for Wania. He understood the circumstances that led to his abandonment, and he loved his birth mother. But Juanilla was the one who had saved his life, who had nurtured him through his infancy, and who had shown him unconditional love. As Samuel grew older, he became a leader among his people. He was wise, compassionate, and courageous. He understood the importance of preserving Comanche traditions, but he also recognized the need to adapt to a changing world. He saw the value in building bridges between cultures, in fostering understanding and cooperation. He often spoke of Juanilla, telling stories of her kindness, her wisdom, and her unwavering love. He encouraged his people to learn from her, to embrace her, and to see her as a member of their family. One winter, a terrible sickness swept through the Comanche village. Many people fell ill, including Samuel's birth mother. The village medicine man did everything he could, but nothing seemed to work. In desperation, Samuel turned to Juanilla. He knew that she possessed a knowledge of herbs and healing that was different from that of the Comanche medicine man. He begged her to come and help. Juanilla didn't hesitate. She packed her bag with her herbs and her medicines and set out for the Comanche village. When she arrived, she immediately began to care for the sick, using her knowledge and her skills to ease their suffering. She worked tirelessly day and night, tending to the ill, comforting the dying, and offering hope to the despairing. She consulted with the Comanche medicine man, sharing her knowledge and learning from him. Together, they devised a new treatment, a combination of Comanche remedies and Juanilla's herbal medicines. And slowly, miraculously, the sick began to recover. Samuel's birth mother was among those who were healed. She looked at Juanilla with tears of gratitude in her eyes. "You saved my life," she said. "Thank you." Juanilla smiled gently. "We are family," she said. "We take care of each other." The sickness eventually subsided, and the Comanche village returned to normal. But the experience had brought Juanilla and Samuel's family even closer together. They had learned to rely on each other, to trust each other, and to love each other, regardless of their differences. Juanilla continued to live in her cabin, but she was no longer alone. She was surrounded by family, by friends, and by a community that loved and cherished her. She had found a new purpose in life, a new identity, and a new sense of belonging. And Samuel, the baby she had found in the snow, the son she had given back to his people, became a great leader, a bridge between two worlds, and a testament to the power of love, understanding, and forgiveness. The story of Clara Whitmore, the Winter Story Woman, became a legend, a tale told around campfires, a reminder that even in the darkest of winters, hope can be found, and that love can conquer all. The story of Juanilla Wallapi Winyin, the Winter Story Woman, continued to be told long after she was gone. She became a symbol of hope, resilience, and the power of love to overcome cultural differences. Children in both the Comanche village and the nearby settlements grew up hearing tales of her kindness, her wisdom, and her unwavering devotion to Samuel. They learned about her courage in facing the unknown, her willingness to embrace a different culture, and her ability to find common ground with people from all walks of life. The story of Juanilla and Samuel became a bridge between the Comanche and the settlers, fostering understanding and cooperation. It reminded them that despite their differences, they were all human beings with the same hopes, the same fears, and the same capacity for love. The red cloth that Samuel had been wrapped in became a cherished artifact, a reminder of his miraculous survival and the bond between Juanilla and the Comanche people. It was displayed in a place of honor in the Comanche village, a symbol of their gratitude and respect for the woman who had saved their chief son. Juanilla's cabin became a place of pilgrimage, a destination for those seeking solace, wisdom, or simply a connection to the past. People would come from far and wide to visit the cabin, to walk in her footsteps, and to imagine the life she had lived. Some would leave offerings, small tokens of gratitude or remembrance. Others would simply sit in silence, soaking up the atmosphere and reflecting on the lessons of her life. The garden that Juanilla had tended became a symbol of her nurturing spirit. It continued to flourish year after year, a testament to her love of nature and her ability to bring life to even the most barren of landscapes. The herbs and medicines that she had used to heal the sick were passed down through generations, becoming an integral part of the Comanche healing tradition. Her knowledge and her skills continued to benefit the Comanche people long after she was gone. And Samuel, the baby she had found in the snow, the son she had given back to his people, continued to be remembered as a great leader, a wise counselor, and a compassionate human being. He was a living embodiment of the values that Juanilla had instilled in him: love, understanding, and forgiveness. The story of Juanilla Wawapi Winyin, the Winter Story Woman, became a timeless tale, a reminder that even in the face of adversity, hope can be found, and that love can conquer all. It was a story that would continue to be told for generations to come, inspiring people to embrace their differences, to build bridges between cultures, and to create a world where everyone feels a sense of belonging. Even the land itself seemed to remember Juanilla. The wildflowers that bloomed each spring were said to be more vibrant near her cabin, a splash of color echoing the red cloth that had started it all. The birds sang sweeter songs in her garden, their melodies carrying whispers of her name on the wind. Travelers passing through the territory would often stop at her cabin, drawn by the stories they had heard. Some were seeking healing, others were searching for wisdom, and still others were simply curious to see the place where the Winter Story Woman had lived. Juanilla always welcomed them with open arms, offering them food, shelter, and a listening ear. She shared her stories, her knowledge, and her wisdom, inspiring them to live lives of compassion, understanding, and forgiveness. She taught them about the importance of respecting nature, of honoring their ancestors, and of building bridges between cultures. She encouraged them to find common ground with people from all walks of life, to embrace their differences, and to celebrate their shared humanity. She showed them how to cultivate a garden, how to identify medicinal herbs, and how to heal the sick. She shared her knowledge of the Comanche language and culture, helping them to understand and appreciate the traditions of the native people. And she always told them the story of Samuel, the baby she had found in the snow, the son she had given back to his people. She spoke of his courage, his wisdom, and his unwavering commitment to building a better world. She reminded them that even in the darkest of times, hope can be found, and that love can conquer all. She encouraged them to never give up on their dreams, to never lose faith in humanity, and to always strive to make the world a better place. As Juanilla grew older, her hair turned white, her skin wrinkled, and her body grew frail. But her spirit remained strong, her heart remained open, and her mind remained sharp. She continued to live in her cabin, surrounded by family, by friends, and by a community that loved and cherished her. She was a living legend, a symbol of hope and inspiration for all who knew her. One day, as she sat in her rocking chair, watching the sunset, she felt a gentle hand on her shoulder. She looked up and saw Samuel, standing before her. He was an old man now, his face etched with the lines of wisdom and experience. But his eyes still sparkled with the same warmth and love that she had seen in them when he was a baby. "Juanilla," he said, his voice soft and gentle, "it is time." Clara smiled. She knew what he meant. Her time on this earth was coming to an end. She had lived a long and full life, a life filled with love, purpose, and meaning. She was ready to go. She took Samuel's hand and squeezed it tightly. "I love you," she said. "I love you too." "Juanilla," he replied. And with that, she closed her eyes and slipped away, her spirit soaring free, ready to join the ancestors in the great beyond. The world mourned her passing, but her legacy lived on. The story of Juanilla Wawapi Winyin, the Winter Story Woman, continued to be told, inspiring people to embrace their differences, to build bridges between cultures, and to create a world where everyone feels a sense of belonging. And her spirit continued to watch over them, guiding them, and protecting them for generations to come. And so, the cycle continued. Spring followed winter, life followed death, and the story of Juanilla Wawapi Winyin, the Winter Story Woman, continued to inspire hope and understanding in a world that desperately needed it. It's important to remember that stories like these are never truly finished. They evolve and adapt with each retelling, reflecting the values and beliefs of the people who share them. They become a living testament to the power of human connection, the resilience of the human spirit, and the enduring legacy of love. Perhaps the most important lesson of Juania's story is that family is not always defined by blood. It is defined by love, by loyalty, and by a shared commitment to one another's well-being. It is about creating a sense of belonging, a sense of community, and a sense of purpose. Juania found a family in the most unexpected of places, in the arms of a baby she rescued from the snow, in the hearts of a people she had once feared, and in the legacy of a story that transcended cultural boundaries. Her story reminds us that we all have the power to create our own families, to build our own bridges, and to make a difference in the world, no matter how small or insignificant our actions may seem. It is a story that calls us to be more compassionate, more understanding, and more forgiving. It is a story that encourages us to embrace our differences, to celebrate our shared humanity, and to create a world where everyone feels a sense of belonging. And so, the story of Juania Wawapi Winyin, the Winter Story Woman, continues to be told, inspiring hope, understanding, and love in a world that desperately needs it. It is a story that will continue to evolve and adapt with each retelling, reflecting the values and beliefs of the people who share it. It is a story that will continue to remind us of the power of human connection, the resilience of the human spirit, and the enduring legacy of love. It is a story that will continue to inspire us to be better, to do better, and to create a better world for all. The end, or perhaps just the beginning. For every ending is also a beginning, a chance to start anew, to learn from the past, and to create a better future. And so, the story goes on, carried on the wind, whispered among the trees, etched in the hearts of all who hear it. The legacy of Juania Wawapi Winyin, the Winter Story Woman, will never be forgotten. And so, the tale of the Winter Story Woman echoes through time. But what about the land itself? How did it remember this extraordinary connection? The red cloth, the spark that ignited this incredible journey, eventually faded, worn thin by time and cherished by generations. But its color seemed to seep into the very earth surrounding Juania's cabin. Each spring, the wildflowers that bloomed there possessed a deeper, richer hue of crimson, a vibrant testament to the love and sacrifice that had unfolded on that very spot. The birds, too, seemed to carry the memory of Juania's gentle spirit. Their songs were more melodic, their calls more comforting in the vicinity of her cabin. It was said that they were singing the stories she had told, passing them down through generations of feathered listeners. The wind itself seemed to whisper Juania's name as it rustled through the trees. It carried her wisdom, her kindness, and her unwavering belief in the power of love to every corner of the territory. It was a constant reminder that even in the face of adversity, hope could be found. The stream that flowed near her cabin babbled with tales of her compassion. It spoke of her healing touch, her unwavering dedication to helping those in need, and her ability to find common ground with people from all walks of life. Even the stars seemed to shine brighter above Juania's cabin. They twinkled with the joy of a life well lived, a life dedicated to love, understanding, and forgiveness. They were a constant reminder that even in the darkest of nights, light could be found. The land remembered Juania, not just as a woman who had lived and died, but as a force of nature, a beacon of hope, and a symbol of the enduring power of the human spirit. It held her memory close, sharing her story with all who were willing to listen. And so, the tale of the Winter Story Woman continues to be told, not just in words, but in the whispers of the wind, the songs of the birds, the babbling of the stream, and the twinkling of the stars. It is a story that will never be forgotten, a story that will continue to inspire hope, understanding, and love for generations to come. For the land remembers, and the land always tells the truth. And the truth is that Juania Wawapi Winyin, the Winter Story Woman, was a truly remarkable woman, a woman who changed the world one act of kindness at a time. Her legacy will live on forever, etched in the hearts of all who knew her and whispered on the wind for all who are willing to listen. The end. And in the end, that is all that truly matters. The connections we make, the love we share, and the legacy we leave behind. Clara Whitmore, Wania Wallapi Winyin, the Winter Story Woman, left behind a legacy that will continue to inspire for generations to come. She taught us that even in the darkest of times, hope can be found. She showed us that love can conquer all, transcending cultural boundaries and uniting people from all walks of life. She reminded us that family is not always defined by blood, but by love, loyalty, and a shared commitment to one another's well-being. She inspired us to be more compassionate, more understanding, and more forgiving. She encouraged us to embrace our differences, to celebrate our shared humanity, and to create a world where everyone feels a sense of belonging. And she left us with a story that will continue to evolve and adapt with each retelling, reflecting the values and beliefs of the people who share it. It is a story that will continue to remind us of the power of human connection, the resilience of the human spirit, and the enduring legacy of love. So let us remember the Winter Story Woman, and let us strive to live our lives in a way that honors her memory. Let us be kind, let us be compassionate, and let us be forgiving. Let us build bridges instead of walls, and let us create a world where everyone feels a sense of belonging. For in the end, that is all that truly matters. The love we share, the connections we make, and the legacy we leave behind. And the legacy of Wania Wallapi Winyin, the Winter Story Woman, will live on forever, etched in the hearts of all who knew her and whispered on the wind for all who are willing to listen. The end. For now, the story will continue, carried on the wind, whispered among the trees, and etched in the hearts of all who hear it. The legacy of Wania Wallapi Winyin, the Winter Story Woman, will never be forgotten. It will live on, inspiring hope, understanding, and love for generations to come. And that, my friends, is the greatest story of all. A story of love, a story of loss, a story of hope, and a story of connection. The story of Wania Wallapi Winyin, the Winter Story Woman. The very end.